Executive's Office of Community Engagement. It is a pleasure to welcome all of you here for our fourth Budget Town Hall Series. Community engagement is the hallmark of our County Executive's administration, bringing you, all residents, to participate in our county's budget process. Tonight, we continue with fiscal year 2023's budget discussions in District 5, hosted by your County Executive, Johnny Olszewski, and your Council Member, David Marks. After the County Executive's budget presentation, we will call on and unmute those that have signed up to testify in alphabetical order by first name. If you did not sign up in advance and would like to testify, please let us know in the chat feature of WebEx. The County Executive, the appropriate department head, or Councilman Marks will address your inquiries, concerns, and ideas. If we cannot answer a question tonight, we will have a coordinator from the Office of Community Engagement follow up with you. And now, it is my honor and privilege to welcome your Councilman, David Marks.
Well, thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be with everyone tonight. I'd like to thank the County Executive and his staff for hosting tonight's meeting. The past 3.5 years have been among the most challenging in recent county history, yet we can point to real progress in many important areas. I've always been a firm believer that when we have surpluses, we should be investing in one-time expenses such as capital projects, including roads, utilities, schools, and parks. Over the past 3 years, we've resurfaced nearly 7 miles of Joppa Road. We've secured funding for water lines in Fullerton and the Seven Courts area, started construction on 2 new schools in the Northeast, purchased 22 acres for a new park in Perry Hall, nearly completed Radeball Park, and purchased land to advance the Six Bridge Trail in Towson, and committed to a new Towson High School. As I conclude my service as Towson's representative, I am very pleased that nearly every initiative for that area is finished or has made substantial progress. I would like to thank the County Executive with whom I have worked directly on several of these projects and whose support is essential to financing all of them. As we move forward, I'm hopeful we can continue our efforts to recruit and retain police, firefighters, and other personnel because public safety must be one of our top priorities. I know I will hear from many of you tonight who share my support for traffic calming and resurfacing, completing our park system, and advancing other community improvements. With that, I would like to introduce the County Executive. I thank him and his staff for organizing tonight's meeting.
Thanks so much, Councilman. Really appreciate that and appreciate your presence and partnership here in Baltimore County in particular for your district here in District 5. I want to thank everybody else who has come out and joined us tonight. It is great to be with you. And we're also joined tonight by our County Administrative Officer, Stacey Rogers, as well as each department in Baltimore County, almost all of whom are represented by the director or the deputy director of each department, in some cases both. Thrilled to be working alongside that outstanding team, alongside Councilman Marks and with all of you to continue building a better Baltimore County. I wish that we were meeting together in person as originally planned, but obviously we were just coming off of the Omicron variant, which has until recently been pretty significantly overwhelming our hospital systems and putting a massive burden on our healthcare professionals. That's why we had scheduled the first couple of town halls virtually to protect ourselves and each other, and looking forward to hopefully resuming in-person town halls soon. We do know that the best tool that we have against COVID remains the vaccine, and while about 78% of the county's eligible population is vaccinated, about 1 in 5 of our residents remains unvaccinated. And in large part, especially during this most recent surge, we are seeing the strain that was placed on hospitals was largely among those who were unvaccinated. According to Maryland Hospital Association data, as much as 84% of those hospitalized with COVID have been unvaccinated. So remember, just for context, that 84% has been coming from just the 22% of our population that was unvaccinated. So just if you aren't vaccinated, I want to again urge you to get the shot. As soon as you're eligible, I encourage you to also get your booster because vaccines are without a doubt the best tool we have to keep our kids in the classroom, keep our businesses running strong, and to get back to and to stay back to normal. You can register yourself or a loved one for a vaccine or a booster at baltimorecountymd.gov/vaccine. Speaking of vaccines, our team has done incredible work to vaccinate our residents, with our mass vaccination site at the Maryland State Fairgrounds being recognized as the best in the state. We also established community clinics and mobile units across the county, and even worked with Uber to provide rides to our clinics and standing up a program for homebound residents. We have done and will keep doing whatever it takes to give this life-saving vaccine to our residents. I'm also proud of what our team has done to support our residents as we weather this storm together. During this most recent surge, we were able to give out 100,000 at-home test kits to our residents. We stood up a large-scale testing site at the White Marsh Mall and expanded our hours at other existing test sites in Randallstown, Towson, and Dundalk. In the beginning of the pandemic, we also built out a county-wide food distribution program with our school system and the Maryland Food Bank, providing over 18 million meals. We took bold steps in eviction prevention, keeping over 1,500 families in their homes with millions of dollars of support. Bold steps in closing the digital divide to provide internet essentials to thousands of moderate income families, a program that we continue through our ARP funding. And in creating a child care subsidy program for both our low-income families with school-age children, as well as county employees who had school-age children. We've also taken bold steps to provide $26 million of direct support to our business community. Now, of course, that's just a snapshot of what we've done, and we'll do even more in the months ahead. Baltimore County is receiving around $160 million as part of the American Rescue Plan. Back in November, we announced our proposal for getting these new resources into the community. It's a plan that's focused on investing across the county, but especially in those communities that have been hit hardest by the pandemic. The plan includes creating equity districts to promote more investment in vulnerable communities, $16 million for an affordable housing development fund, about $4 million of additional support for small business and county tourism, over $2 million to help our child care providers across the county, and more than $2 million for behavioral health supports, including expanded crisis response and providing trauma-informed care training for our employees. This is a chance for us not just to rebuild, not just to get back to where we were, but to go beyond, to go to where we always should have been. And it's a plan that we want to seize this opportunity with Councilman Marks and with all of you. I'm also proud to report that even amidst this crisis, we've also continued to make unbelievable progress for all of our communities. We're proving that positive, transformative change is possible here, and we're committed to ensuring that the county continues to rise to its fullest potential. For me, that starts by making sure our local government remains open, accessible, and accountable to the residents we serve. And in our first month in office together, along with Councilman Marks, we were able to introduce and pass major ethics reform and legislation that strengthens trust and accountability in county government. With Councilman Marks' support, we also were able to create the county's first Office of the Inspector General. We strengthened our lobbying laws, and we created the county's first ever public financing system for local elections. With you, we launched this signature town hall budget series and have engaged thousands of residents in the process. And even during the COVID-19 pandemic, we continued the conversation virtually as we are tonight. I'm proud to say we've created the county's first ever data-driven performance management system, BCStat. We created the county's first open budget platform, allowing you, our residents, to track county revenues and expenditures so you see where the money goes down to the individual check. And we also created an Office of Community Engagement to ensure every district has a dedicated representative. Here in District 5, Carmen Christiana has served as your outreach coordinator for months, in addition to working in District 3. Tonight, I'd like to introduce Vrinda Panning, who's been recently hired to join our team as your new District 5 outreach coordinator. V, if you're on, do you want to just say hi for a moment?
Oh, I'm on. Hello. Thank you so much, County Executive. Hello, District 5 and Councilman. I'm very much so looking forward to this new role and meeting everyone in person. So again, thank you so much.
Well, congratulations again and welcome to the team. This is, after all, a budget town hall, so let's talk budget. Bit of an overview to start. The county's total operating budget is about $4.2 billion. This operating budget supports our day-to-day operations, providing funds for our workforce and for basic services. About half of that money, about $2 billion, goes to support our county workers directly. Other expenses include county contractors, debt service for our capital projects, supplies, and other materials. The money for these services come from a number of sources, but primarily property and income taxes. We also take in some revenue from state and federal funding, as well as our metropolitan district funds. which go towards our water and sewer system. Over half of our total budget goes to education, which is the most important investment I think we can make in local government. This means about $2 billion of local funds goes to BCPS's operating costs. After education, our other top priorities are appropriately public safety, with $450 million supporting our law enforcement officers, firefighters, and first responders who keep our community safe, and public works, with again about $450 million to support our local infrastructure investments, water, sewer, and roads. This makes sense. Education, safety, and infrastructure is the core of what we do in local government. We also annually adopt our capital budget, which is funded largely by bonds and supports construction projects, whether it's our schools, police stations, community centers, and similar investments. You probably remember voting on local borrowing initiatives during the last election in 2020, and that capital budget directs how that money gets to be spent. Half of our capital budget funds repairs and improvements to our water and sewer systems, some of the most expensive but essential responsibilities of government. We also have over $200 million allocated for school construction and renovation biannually in our existing borrowing plan. But even as we borrow and we strengthen our communities, we also know the importance of balancing those investments with responsible fiscal stewardship. That's why we're proud that even amid this pandemic and economic crisis that ensued, Baltimore County has retained its AAA bond rating. And that's a top tier financial rating that fewer than 2% of all counties across the country enjoy. It speaks not only to responsible fiscal management of our government, and I want to again thank Councilman Marks and his partners in the council for helping us do this, but it also speaks to letting us borrow at lower interest rates, which saves you, our taxpayers, millions of dollars. We're also delivering on a vision that's bold to modernize county government, to improve our services. This year, we continue to make the investments in core services that improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods. Perhaps the most notable example is that bulk trash pickup has returned to Baltimore County for the first time since it was canceled back in 1992. Yes, you heard that right, 1992. In addition, we're revamping and reimagining code enforcement by hiring more code enforcement inspectors, launching a new code enforcement dashboard, and using a newly created fund to address derelict properties throughout Baltimore County. We're also working to build a more robust local economy with vibrant businesses and a strong workforce. That's why we're making investments to revitalize our main streets and grow our economy across the county. Towson continues to thrive. It was named a Main Street Maryland affiliate in 2020. Reisterstown was named our county's second Maryland Main Street. Catonsville, affectionately known as Music City, Maryland, became our county's first ever arts and entertainment district. And Sparrows Point has become an economic engine for the entire region once again, with Trade Point Atlantic bringing thousands of jobs back to Baltimore County. CCBC has proven an essential partner in workforce development, enrolling 50,000 full and part-time students. We will continue to do whatever we can to break down barriers to opportunity at CCBC. That's why for 3 years in a row, with the support of Councilman Marks, we've been able to freeze the cost of in-county tuition at CCBC and once again expand the College Promise Scholarship to provide free community college to yet another 500 students. We now have more than 850 students attending CCBC for free as a result of this College Promise program. We're also working with CCBC to expand early college access and expand their P-TECH programs. That's a partnership that BCPS has with local businesses that help students complete their high school diploma and their associate degree in 6 years at absolutely no cost to our students. We also believe in the importance of investing in our seniors, who are the foundation of our neighborhoods. Last fall, we launched our age-friendly Baltimore County Action Plan to ensure all residents feel welcome and can take comfort in knowing their needs are being met. We launched and have continued the No Senior Eats Alone Day to combat social isolation. In partnership with the Weinberg Foundation, we created the Because program, which helps our seniors with major home repair so they can age safely in their homes. And we're committed to doing whatever it takes to ensure this is a place where our seniors thrive. We're also reimagining in Baltimore County how our residents get around the county. From day one, we have been committed to improving transit services and opportunities. Last year, we launched the Towson Loop, which is the county's first fixed route transit service. And I want to pause and really thank and commend Councilman Marks for his continued advocacy and fierce support for this project. It's something he's been working on for many years. This week, we hit our 10,000th rider milestone, which is pretty incredible considering how quickly we got there. This is a critical first step in building a stronger local transit system that will carry Baltimore County into the future. And we're already looking to potentially begin other services in similar communities across Baltimore County. As we're bringing these new innovative transit services, we're also focused on the basics. As the council mentioned, for example, for 3 years straight, we provided significant funds to ensure continued things like road repaving and traffic calming. We're also committed to continuing our investments in public safety. After being named our county's first woman police chief, Chief Hyatt began implementing a new public safety plan that includes, among other things, targeted crime prevention efforts in our hotspots and deploying data analytics to improve our policing strategies. And that plan is working in many ways, bringing results, with many crime categories continuing in a downward trend. Violent crime over last year is down 16% countywide. And I want to thank the hardworking men and women of our law enforcement department here. And I want to commend the upstream investments we're making in education and other areas. We're also proud in Baltimore County that we have an 81% clearance rate, which is significantly above the national average. And again, thanks to the consistent and dedicated efforts of our police department. Residents can track our crime data online using BC Stats online dashboards. We know, however, that Baltimore County experienced an increase in homicides last year, as we saw a similar spike nationwide. I want you to know we will continue to do whatever is necessary to ensure that Baltimore County remains a safe place to live, work, and raise a family. About half of Baltimore County's homicides are believed to have had a behavioral health and/or a domestic related component. And we know these tragedies cannot be prevented with law enforcement alone. That's why last year we launched an expansion of our police department's mobile crisis team. This is where we have trained police officers paired with a licensed mental health clinician to respond to calls for things like family conflicts, juvenile complaints, substance abuse, and other incidents that require access to social service resources. We've also are in the process of creating a new 911 call center clinician program, where we will have mental health clinicians in our call center helping to screen incoming calls to connect residents with the resources most appropriate for them. Some of the largest challenges law enforcement face in addressing domestic violence is connecting with the people who are victimized in the privacy of their own home. That's why we're also leveraging ARP funding to support 10 domestic violence coordinators, as well as 10 vulnerable adult coordinators. In taking this holistic approach to public safety, supporting law enforcement, expanding access to mental health resources, and making upstream investments, we can continue reducing crime and keep our neighborhoods safe. We're also taking steps to ensure that our policing practices are equitable while we're keeping those communities safe. In our first year, we created an equitable policing work group to review our practices and recommend changes. And in 2020, amid a national spotlight on policing issues, our county became the first jurisdiction in the region to enact major policing reforms. With strong bipartisan support, we all passed the Smart Policing Act to ban chokeholds, prevent officers with prior records of misconduct from serving in our department, and codifying other reforms already underway to ensure that they would not be undone by future administrations. Additionally, we created public data dashboards to track use of force and complaints against law enforcement officers. And we know that there's always more to be done here in Baltimore County, across Maryland, and our country. We look forward to working in partnership with all of you to do that. As we work to support the mental and behavioral health of our residents, Baltimore County continues to tackle the opioid epidemic head on. We've expanded harm reduction services like syringe service programs and drug take-back boxes. We've increased treatment options, working with Gaudenzia to open our county's first new treatment center in Owings Mills in 2020. And we're partnering with Sheppard Pratt to develop a first-of-its-kind hub-and-spoke model for treatment there. It's a model that provides comprehensive care for individuals experiencing addiction and mental health conditions. Baltimore County is building its own hub-and-spoke model for treatment as well, which will connect those seeking help with a network of healthcare providers. We will continue to evolve to address this ever-changing epidemic. In Baltimore County, we're also taking big steps forward to build a more sustainable future. That starts with getting the basics right, like restarting the county's glass recycling program, which was discontinued back in 2013. But we didn't stop at the basics. We created the county's first chief sustainability officer to coordinate our work to promote green energy, combat climate change, and protect the environment. And after exceeding the prior administration's renewable energy goals, we set an aggressive new target, 100% renewable energy by 2026. To reach that goal, we're taking action, whether it's installing solar panels at our capped landfills, where we expect to generate the equivalent of 35% of our electricity demand, or to go even further, converting methane gas to renewable energy at our Eastern Sanitary Landfill. We're also hard at work to promote the use of electric vehicles, including a partnership with BGE to install charging stations. And I issued executive orders that would require all new and replacement passenger vehicles to be electric or hybrid. Protecting parks and open space is another important part of a more sustainable county. That's why our current budget provides a record $75 million of state and local funds for new parks and open space. This investment represents more for parks this year alone than in the past 6 years combined. Councilman Marks mentioned a few great projects here in District 5 that include Rattleball Park, the Bierman property in Perry Hall, 2 properties on Worthington Road to be used for the Six Bridges Trail in Towson, and a new turf field at Honeygo Regional Park. In addition, we recently acquired nearly 13 acres on Cheverly Road in Northeast Towson, which will primarily be used as the Rec and Parks headquarters, but it also has the potential to include a new community park as well. We're also actively working on improvements at Cromwell Valley Park, including a parking expansion, barnatorium renovation, and new trail, all in the design phase at this point. And last year, we started Retree Baltimore County. It's a new operation and effort to expand our tree canopy in our more urbanized communities, beautifying our neighborhoods while protecting our environment. And using ARP funding, we also have allocated several millions of dollars more for trails and parks around Baltimore County. As a former parent and teacher, and a current parent of a BCPS kindergartner, education is a passion of mine, and it's one of my top priorities as county executive. And so as we plan for our children's future and the future of our county, we know we have an obligation to provide them with the resources they need to thrive. That's why our current budget includes $40 million above the required maintenance of effort. This is the largest real dollar increase in Baltimore County's history. Our budget continues to fund all of our teaching positions to preserve smaller classes as we return to school. And we also fully funded step increases for BCPS staff on top of a well-deserved 2% mid-year cost of living adjustment. In November, we worked with BCPS to use ARP funding to raise pay for school bus drivers and eliminate pre-employment barriers like the cost of physical exams. Our teachers and staff have done great work, and they deserve our support, especially amid the pandemic, and we're proud to support them. In the budget ahead, we plan to continue working with BCPS to continue raising pay, continue providing competitive benefits so that we can pay our workers the strong wages they deserve and fill the hundreds of essential positions that are still vacant in our school system. And after teaching in a trailer for most of my career as an educator, I've learned firsthand just how important it is to have a quality learning environment. That's why Baltimore County has committed hundreds of millions of dollars to finish Schools for Our Future, improve our facilities, and ensure that every public school in Baltimore County is air conditioned. Locally, our investments include that new elementary school at Ridge Road, which the council mentioned, currently under construction, funding for a new middle school in the Northeast area, one that will have its groundbreaking in May and is expected to open in 2024. In addition, at Pine Grove Middle School, which will have groundbreaking in May, security improvements at Perry Hall High School, a roof rehab at Stoneley Elementary School, and elevators at both Rogers Forge and Oakley Elementary School. Collectively, with a new elementary school, new middle school, and the addition, along with all the systemic maintenance, we have invested over $100 million of school construction in District 5. And moving forward, we're laying the groundwork to begin addressing our high school needs. Last year, we allocated funding in our budget for feasibility studies in the Northeast area, examining the needs of Parkville, Perry Hall, Kenwood, Lock Raven, and Overley. And there will be community meetings forthcoming for these studies once we have draft proposals to review from the school system. And like the councilman, I've toured all of Baltimore County and I've seen incredible need. We've seen the overcrowding, we've seen the brown drinking water, and we've seen schools literally crumbling into the ground. Unfortunately, in the past, Baltimore County hasn't significantly invested enough into our schools. And I know we have to do better and believe we can do better with a comprehensive plan. That's why the last 2 years we spent conducting an extensive planning process to develop that long-range plan for school construction. We had over 22,000 community responses, working with our residents to identify our priorities and develop that plan. In surveys and meetings, the community overwhelmingly asked that our needs be addressed within a 15-year window, and that we do so equitably. So as we led this engagement effort, we worked with an independent education experts to assess and rank every school according to facility condition, capacity needs, and the school's ability to meet the learning needs of our students. The culmination of those efforts was the multi-year improvement plan for all schools. It's a long-term roadmap for our schools, the first of its kind in Baltimore County. It represented $2.5 billion of investment over 15 years, transformational in terms of impact and investment, ensuring that every school received meaningful capital over the next 15 years and fully paid for with existing funding mechanisms. Some of the highlights include that it provides a place for every student inside the school building, ending the practice of having our children in trailers within a decade. It makes CTE and STEM education a priority. It includes support for our community schools and on alternative schools. And it funds renovations and preventative maintenance at schools across Baltimore County. Speaking of investments at our schools, I know Towson has been the topic of conversation for residents in the 5th District for a very long time. So last year, we wrote to both the state sharing some fiscal and historical constraints on this project, but noted that we were seeking and hoping to get additional state resources so that Baltimore County could raise the bar. Tonight, I'm pleased to say that we are doing just that. After meeting with state leaders, including Governor Hogan, House Speaker Adrian Jones, and Senate President Bill Ferguson, we were thrilled to see the governor include $1 billion for school construction this year. As a result of that new commitment, as well as greater than originally anticipated levels of state funding through the Healthy School Facility Fund and the Built to Learn Act, Baltimore County is now accelerating school projects across the county and investing more in those projects, including at Towson High School. So we're proud to say that thanks to these additional funds, Baltimore County is ready to move forward with plans for a like-new Towson High School. And we plan to include both planning and design money later this year in this year's budget for this project. We're proud to be able to take this next step towards bringing the project to reality here and at other schools across the county, while maintaining our commitment to the equitable roadmap that we embarked upon through the MyIPass plan. In the meantime, we look forward to learning more about the additional details of the funding and continue to work with all of our great state partners. I think I saw Delegate Forbes, and maybe there are others on tonight, to secure as much of that state funding as possible for Baltimore County. On top of the plans that we've already talked about, we also have plans to address overcrowding at Cromwell Valley Elementary, Rogers Forge Elementary, Gunpowder, Lock Raven High School, and Perry Hall High School. These schools will all receive capital investments that will improve the learning experience and safety for all students. This is all part of our push to go beyond MyIPass alone and raise the bar further for all of our kids. Because while the plan provides us a solid baseline, it was based solely on existing funding. And so rather than scaling to meet our needs, we're going to go further, just like we're doing with Towson High School, because we have tremendous needs in every corner of the county. We have the 3rd oldest school stock in the state, and we have the 3rd largest jurisdiction in the state. That's why we committed the funding for the School for Our Future program. It's why we worked with our state legislators to pass the Built to Learn Act, and it's why we're seeking to sustain the level of investment from the state and raise the bar. We're hoping to see the state match Baltimore County's annual investment for the next 15 years, the duration of the MyIPass plan, as we raise the bar. Annually, our school budgets, as I mentioned, includes about $100 million a year from the county, and on average, a little over $40 million from the state through the CIP. The Built to Learn Act adds about another $420 million of total state funding, about $40 million a year for 10 years, which brings the state closer to a 50-50 match. And again, this funding has been transformative for the schools that are going to receive the improvements, which is why we're seeking for this to be more than a short-term infusion. We want to have this match be sustained throughout the plan so that we can elevate the standards for all of our students in every community. So what does that look like? It means that we're investing more in all of our older high schools in every community like Towson. It means that we're building classrooms to accommodate 3,000 more young learners in our pre-K programs throughout the county, including significant dollars here in District 5. We'll improve security at our schools with $30 million of investments, and we'll modernize our classrooms with additional investments. All the while, we'll continue the fight to win high quality 21st century schools for every community in Baltimore County. So in April, I will introduce my fiscal year 23 budget to Councilman Marks and the County Council. They will review and have a responsibility to approve it by May 31st. As you know, especially those of you who have been here before, you have an important role to play. So I look forward to hearing from you this evening about your priorities for the budget and incorporating them as we finalize our proposal to Councilman Marks and the County Council. So Mandy, I'm going to turn things over to you to moderate. The floor is open to the public.
Thank you very much, Mr. County Executive, and thank all of you who have signed up to testify in advance. I will call on you in alphabetical order by first name, at which time you will have 90 seconds to state your budget idea or budget-related testimony. We have many speakers signed up tonight to testify this evening, and to ensure that we are able to get to everyone, we ask that you please limit all testimony to 90 seconds. Once your name is called to testify, a member of our team will unmute you, and we ask that you please be patient as there may be a momentary delay between muting and unmuting. The County Executive, the appropriate department head, or Councilman Marks will address your inquiries, concerns, and ideas. If we are unable to answer your question this evening, please leave your email in the chat feature, and we will have a coordinator from the Office of Community Engagement follow up with you. If you've signed up to testify and were not called on, please leave a comment in the chat feature of WebEx to let us know. Mr. County Executive, in addition to the speakers that we are going to hear from this evening, I would also like to let you know that we have received 67 additional emails from community members sharing their support for budget-related topics such as Towson High School, increased pedestrian safety, an addition of a local cricket field, and some other community-specific initiatives which we have compiled into written testimony for you.
Great, thanks, Mandy.
Absolutely. Mr. County Executive, are you ready for your first testimony of the evening? We are going to start with Mr. Akbar Asari. Mr. Akbar, you can go ahead with your testimony. Mr. Akbar Ansari, you can go ahead with your testimony. Next, we have Miss Ann George. Miss Ann George, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Good evening, County Executive and Councilman Marks. I first want to say that I'm delighted that you have made many of the changes you've had, and the County Council has been very supportive. And I speak here tonight, of course, on behalf of the animal shelter and Baltimore County Animal Services and the future of it. I am actually shaking right now because I just read the report, the efficiency report of Baltimore County, which recommends raising the fees on spay and neuter and adoption services. And there's more to this story than just money. Raising fees on spay neuter is going to result in more animals on the street, and we are making progress in that area. It also compares us to other counties which have horrible euthanasia rates compared to Baltimore County. We are moving into being a more progressive animal shelter. So I have this suggestion. Let's make, I know you've done blue ribbon commissions before. Let's get another one full of experts in animal services. There are national organizations such as Best Friends and American Pets Alive. They have data metrics on all this about live output and costs, and et cetera. That's my first suggestion. The second is, let's revisit the concept of having a nonprofit share with some of these costs and take some of the burden off of the county in that way. And I know that a previous study said that there was too much competition for money. I'm telling you, I've been investigating this on a national basis. We are missing out on money because we do not have this. And I think it's possible that there are citizens in our county that would be willing to form a nonprofit very similar to the Student Support Network, which has just made an amazing, amazing difference in education. We can do the same thing in Baltimore County.
Great. Thank you, Ann. And I'll just say that on the efficiency review portion, we actually we've taken the report. We're scrubbing it for what they've recommended, and I suspect that there are many recommendations that we will follow, but I don't know that we're going to do all recommendations. We just didn't want the report to be sort of slanted one way or the other. We wanted to get their honest opinions, and we'll be honest with the public about which ones we're proceeding with and which ones we might not be. But appreciate your passion and your involvement. I don't know. I think Della is on if she wanted to add anything, but I just appreciate your passion and your involvement, your advocacy. So
thank you. And I appreciate your service and also the county councils. I know we have one of the most progressive TNR bills in the country. And I hate to see us going backward rather than going forward. And kudos to you and the county council, particularly Councilman Marks and Councilman Katch, who have been advocating this all along. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Thanks very much.
Mr. CE, this is Dr. Branch. I'm actually on the call at this particular time, and I'd like to thank Ms. George for all of her comments. I have to basically say ditto to what the county executive said, and understand and know that as the health officer, the backbone and the structure to an excellent TNR program is the neuter and spay program. And so clearly we have an outstanding one in Baltimore County, and we're going to continue to do that all the way into the future. So thank you so much, Ms. George, for your comments. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Branch.
Next, we have Miss Angie McQueenie. Miss McQueenie?
Hi, I don't know if everybody can hear me.
We can. You can go ahead with your testimony.
Great. Thank you, County Executive and Councilman David Marks. My gripe is the Cross and Honeygo intersection where we do not have a light, where we desperately need one. I am the secretary of the HOA of the Crossroad Springs, and we have 19 homes. Several have new drivers. I myself have to make a right turn every time I go into that intersection because I fear for my life. We need to desperately do something to slow down the traffic. I invite the county executive or Councilman Marks, to come to my home any Friday or Saturday evening and listen to the drag races that happen up and down the road. We desperately need a light there. So I don't know what we need to do it. I've seen trucks crash into houses, motorcyclists get killed, people get killed. It's just terrible. So if you would please consider that, we would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback. I believe that Acting Director DeAndrea Walker of the Department of Public Works and Transportation is on, and they are aware of the concern and have been looking into it. But Director Walker, I don't know if you wanted to add anything if you had anything for this one.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive, and thank you, Ms. McQueenie, for bringing that to our attention. I will tell you that Councilman Marks has been in touch with us. We do know that there was a petition that was done. There's been several studies that have been done on that intersection. We are committed to bringing some improvements to the intersection. We had a study done on the intersection 2 weeks ago. We're reviewing the results of the study. And based on those results, we have a few alternatives in front of us that we're considering for the intersection. So we hear you loud and clear, and we're looking at a few alternatives for that intersection.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Yep.
Next, we have Miss Beth Miller of the Annalise and Green Towson Alliance. Ms. Miller, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak on the fiscal year 23 county budget. I'm speaking on behalf of the Green Towson Alliance, and I just want to acknowledge the positive direction this administration has made in environmental issues. But of course, we see a need for increased spending on environmental quality. More complete comments have been submitted in writing, but I'm just going to highlight a few items this evening. With regards to climate change, we feel strongly that action cannot be deferred to reduce county contributions and mitigation of those impacts. So we ask that you please fund the aggressive actions identified in the Baltimore County Greenhouse Gas Inventory Report and the Baltimore County Climate Action Plan. Specifically, we ask that you fund technologies that will divert organic waste from landfills, fund sanitary sewer design levels that reflect the 15% increase in storms acknowledged in the plan, fund flood proofing of the sanitary sewer pump stations identified in the plan, and that you catch up with neighboring counties in the funding of green infrastructure projects to manage stormwater. We also ask that you fund maintenance of the tree canopy throughout the county. We have a single arborist serving the entire county and virtually no budget toward maintaining the existing tree canopy. Regarding open space and land preservation, GTA endorses NeighborSpace's 7-point plan for creating a countywide open space plan. With all the wonderful allocations of funds, we need a plan to connect and get community input on those items. And then finally, please include necessary staffing resources for the Inspector General to do her job more quickly and completely. 2 recent cases investigated by the OIG dealt with advantages given to well-connected developers. Openness, transparency, and accountability are critical to ensure that fraud, waste, and abuse do not result in adverse environmental consequences when it comes to land use and the development process. Thank you very much.
Your advocacy in the community. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Brian Wareheim from Perry Hall. Mr. Wareheim, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Hi, thank you. So my name is Brian Wareheim. I live on the corner of Honeygo Boulevard and Cross. My video has been seen on Facebook and Perry Hall Neighbors a few times, but I just want to voice my support for some traffic measures to be done on this intersection. Like I said, I've captured dozens and dozens of videos in the last 5 years that I've been here, ranging from near misses or crashes or just people blatantly running the stop sign. I feel like it's going to potentially get worse with all the new businesses that are being stood up down on Honeygo and Bel Air Road. So with this added in, traffic, I think this intersection will become worse, as this is only one of the main intersections on Honeygo that doesn't have traffic stop signs or lights on this area. So I know there's been pushback about a light or a roundabout, but I think anything like small changes to make this intersection more safe would be welcomed. Speed bumps, traffic calming strips, a blinking stop sign to make people aware of this intersection. I feel like that's where a lot of the danger is people not paying attention to the stop sign at the intersection. So I know y'all brought it up, but I just want to voice my support. Just seeing all these accidents over the years, it's obviously incredibly dangerous. So I would just like to voice my concern to have something done here. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I appreciate that and for your advocacy on behalf of the community. I believe that DPWT recently finished a traffic study. And I know that report, I think, is being reviewed still and some alternatives are being considered. But before I prove myself wrong, I'll let Director Walker chime in again.
No, sir, you are correct. That is the same intersection that we just talked about. But Mr. Wareheim, I tell you, if nothing else, I'll tell you, we are going to improve the lighting in that area.
Great.
I appreciate that. I'm not going to say that that's all we're going to do because we did notice that the lighting did need some improvements.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks very much.
Sure thing.
Next on the list, we have Ms. Cheryl Gottlieb. Ms. Gottlieb, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Hi, so I have 2 things. The first is that as a full-time transit user, I find the loop to be the biggest waste of money that I've ever seen. Mostly because the building where I live is a bus stop where 6 existing other buses already stopped. If I'm trying to plan my day, and I've mentioned this to Sam before, there is no way, when you go into Google Maps, you can look up all the MTA bus schedules and when they're supposed to be coming. So if I have to go to the doctors at GBMC, for example, I can look up the night before, when my appointment is and, what time the bus is coming that I have to catch to go over there. The loop is not integrated into that system. I have no idea when it's coming ever, so it makes it completely impossible to use. So that's number one. And then number two is you mentioned tonight about a large sum of money that was going into behavioral health crisis services. And I believe that, I don't remember what the acronym stands for, unfortunately, but were you specifically referencing the GBRICS initiative that is being spearheaded by Baltimore City? Because I've gone to a few listening sessions specifically for that program, and I was incredibly unimpressed by how little that they are actually listening to people with lived experience, and specifically people that are dual diagnosed with developmental disabilities as well as mental health disabilities, because I don't think that these services at all are going to meet the needs of my community. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention before a whole sum of money is put into an initiative that's ignoring a large portion of the mental health community.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thanks, Cheryl. So I know that you, I believe, pushing for our routes to be integrated to the state routes. What I can say is I know we do have a local app that sort of tracks routes and timing, and generally we're on a 15-minute fix. Part of the fixed routes about every 15 minutes. Then I'll let Director Walker add anything else to that, and then also on the GBRICS, that's actually an additional grant that was awarded. That would be anything that we did there, and we are having conversations about syncing up with those efforts, but that would be additive to our own efforts and the outstanding work that our Baltimore County behavioral crisis intervention teams do. It's a collaboration of our health department and our police department. So I don't know if Chief Hyatt or Dr. Branch want to weigh in on that one after Director Walker talks about the loop, but we are looking to expand service because we think the more models we have, the better, the more options, especially when it's integrated, to meet more of the behavioral health needs out there. But that would actually be additive on top of the expansion I talked about earlier.
So, sir, I will tell you, we do have an app. As you know, our service started in October of this year. Our first priority was to get the primary app that we could institute our data into and have it readily available at the residents' fingertips. That is the Passio app. It's on our website. You can download it, or you can go to your app store and download it. But I am also pleased to say that we are working with MTA to have our data transition into their app. That is an app that MTA uses. We are working actively so that they can grab our data and have it as a part of their app as well. But our primary focus when we were unveiling the loop was to have a central app for the loop itself.
And this is Dr. Branch. I always mentioned about GBRICS. Mr. CE, you actually stole that thunder. It is going to be an additive amount of resources to what we already have in Baltimore County. So we'll continue to work with GBRICS, and we're hoping that that partnership is going to bring much more resources that are needed resources to the constituents of Baltimore County. Thank you for that question.
And I would add to Dr. Branch's comments that the expansion of mobile crisis for Baltimore County is really significant. And Mr. County Executive, thank you for supporting, putting so much support into this effort so that we can get more mobile crisis teams to calls for service when individuals need resources. Previously we haven't been able to get to as many of these calls for service. And as we continue to expand this program, we'll be able to get more resources to the people that need them the most when they need them.
Thank you, everyone, for your input. Next, we have David Riley, Mr. David Riley from Knollwood Towson. You can go ahead with your testimony.
Yes, thank you very much. What I'd like to do is to advocate for some capital improvements to the Baltimore County Public Library on York Road. The building about a year ago was very blessed with a piece of modern art on its facade facing York Road, and it basically changed the entire landscape of the Towson skyline. I think much more can be done there, so that can become basically a destination for the region. A second mural is probably required onto the backside of the building. It's the gateway to Towson. It is right across from the new Whole Foods and some major student housing. I think it's a missed opportunity to really create a work of art in the building itself, and I think some capital funding should be set aside for a second public art project there. Thank you very much.
David, thank you for everything you've done to advance public art in downtown Towson.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it, sir.
Absolutely.
Ditto that, David. And I also want to just thank and commend Director Sonia Alcantara-Antoine and her team at the library who have been working with us and pushing us to envision a larger capital investment generally in the library system. And Towson's certainly on her list of places to do more. So I don't believe she's on, but if anyone was from the library wanted to chime in, you're certainly welcome. But otherwise, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
I am on Mr. County Executive.
Oh, there she is.
Yes. Hi, good evening. Yes, I agree. Towson Library is a capital priority for us here at Baltimore County Public Library. We are hoping to make some significant improvements to the facility, and appreciate the comments from Mr. Riley, and hopefully we can make it happen with the support of the county and the county executive.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Next, tonight we have Mr. Henry Caligari, President of the Towson Communities Alliance. Mr. Caligari, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you to everyone for having the opportunity to speak tonight. I really appreciate these budget town halls. And like it was said, my name is Henry Caligari, and I'm speaking as president of the Towson Communities Alliance. First, I would want to thank the county executive for including the recommendation for a new Towson High School to the IAC, and for Councilman Marks for his advocacy on the issue over the years. That's an investment which the Towson community has needed for a long time, and it's our hope this will help to alleviate the overcrowding in Towson High School. Additionally, I want to advocate for increased funding for several areas. TCA is very concerned about the uptick in violent crime in Baltimore County and the Towson area in particular. We'd ask for additional resources for the hiring and retention of Baltimore County police officers so that there can be a larger force in the area to help address that issue. Additionally, we'd like to see the county continue its investment into education so that the schools in the Towson area, including Towson High School, are adequately funded and supported. And we know that's been a priority of this county executive and the administration and the county council as well. So we just want to see more of the same on that front. And then finally, we also support additional open space grants and in general investments in public transit and more walkability, essentially a more holistic approach towards transportation in Towson. The circulator is a great step in the right direction. We'd like to see a commitment to more trails, more commitment towards bike paths and other alternative ways of transportation so that Towson residents can all experience the great amenities in downtown Towson. So with that, I want to thank you for your time tonight and applaud the work that's been done recently in Baltimore County towards making Towson the best place to grow up and raise a family, start a business, and to partake in all of the wonderful things we have here.
Henry, thank you for your leadership in the community, your service on things like the planning board, and your advocacy tonight. I do want to just thank and do a nod to Towson University, who recently did give the county a grant so that we could step up some of our patrols in the downtown corridor with some police officers. And I know Chief Hyatt has some other efforts that she and her teams are working on. So I'm going to just pass to her for any additional comments that she wants to share in terms of the public safety aspect.
Thanks very much, sir. And thank you for those comments. Absolutely, without question, we want to hire more police officers as well. As you know, right now, unfortunately, nationwide, it is not the easiest time to recruit for police officers. But I will say that we do have a lot of promise right now. Currently, our entry-level police academy class is the largest class that we've brought in since 2007. There's a lot of work that's being done within our department, both from our employment team as well as our training team, to add an additional entry-level class this year. So, you know, my priority when we get these police officers out is getting them into the community, getting them into patrol, getting them into the neighborhoods. And just specific to Towson, I'd like to take a moment to introduce Captain D. Camelli, who is your Towson Precinct Commander. And I'm going to ask Captain Camelli to just briefly touch on some of the specific efforts that they're doing as it pertains to community engagement, because they're doing a lot of really great work out there right now during really challenging times. Captain.
Good evening. Thank you, Chief Hyatt. Yes, as the county executive said earlier, we actually do have a grant with Towson University, and they are providing us with 2 additional police officers from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. 7 days a week to focus strictly on the Towson Row area. We also have an entertainment squad of officers, and they work between the hours of 7 p.m. and between 5 a.m. Their primary focus is to be in the restaurant and bar district during the later hours of the evening. In addition, we have business patrol officers who work during the day and evening hours, and they work a lot with the Towson Chamber of Commerce and a lot of the local businesses. Most importantly, we've really been trying to keep an open line of communication with Towson University, with their chief of police, as well as their officers. We're encouraging them to just come outside of the campus a little bit and meet with us and have a good exchange of information. Also had some very good conversations with some of the local bars, as well as the board, and just some of the changes that we're going to be making to really improve security in the area. I can tell you that as a parent of a daughter who will be going away to college in the next couple of years, I totally understand the concerns of many parents. And what you will see probably in the next week or so are a lot of the bars in Towson did get handheld metal detectors, and they will be wanding people as they go into establishments. I know that isn't the nicest thing to see. I realize the optics of it, but our primary focus is really going to be the safety of our children and of the citizens of Baltimore County. So we are doing our best to really step up enforcement. We're deploying extra resources in the area, and as well as the Chamber of Commerce. Nancy Hafford, the director, recently applied for a grant through Maryland Main Street for $100,000, and that is strictly for extra cameras in the area. So, you know, with that being said, I think we realize our officers can't be everywhere all the time. We do need extra ears and eyes in the community, and we really need our citizens to be our ambassadors out in the community where we can't be. So we really do appreciate everyone's support, and we will continue to certainly do our best to keep everyone safe. Thank you.
Thanks, Captain. Thanks, Chief. Just also want to mention a recently announced community policing partnership program that Dr. Jennifer Lynch worked with the police department, CCBC, and our school system, Dr. Williams and VCPS, where we're building pathways towards public safety focused careers in Baltimore County. And we're hopeful that long-term that will also help us fill the ranks and have folks be sort of more mindful and focused in that area generally as well. So thanks to everybody who made that happen too.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. County Executive. Next, we have Mr. Jason Walsh of the Forge Reserve HOA. Mr. Walsh, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Good evening, gents. Thank you very much to you and your staffs. My name is Jason Walsh. I'm a Baltimore guy like both of you. Grew up in Parkville and bought a house in Parkville, got married, and then moved to Perry Hall. But I am testifying on Cross and Honeygo. Very dangerous. I can sum it up as cluster, dumpster fire, train wreck, all words that come to mind when I think about that intersection. And really the problem is Joppa Road, one lane in each direction, Cross, one lane in each direction. They both cross Honeygo. When you're on Cross Road, you're actually facing 6 lanes of traffic. So you've got 2 lanes in each direction going really fast. You've got a turn lane in each direction. So you're trying to look over 6 lanes of travel. You're trying to avoid the distractions. You got people, you got dogs, beautiful people jogging, the snowball man, whatever. So you're trying to get across safely, and it's very distracting. So I think that's the main thing. A light there, could be really well served with this extra one-time money. I want to thank David Marks for all of his work he does for the neighborhood and specifically for this area. I also serve as the president of the Forge Reserve HOA, mainly because not a lot of people want to be the president of an HOA. But a little further down the road, about a half a mile down the road, Baltimore County approved a light at a brand new development that fronts Honeygo. It fronts Bel Air and it also fronts Honeygo. So my question to Baltimore County is, how did that light get approved so quickly while Cross Road has been a train wreck, like I said, for several years? People, getting in fatal accidents, 5 accidents in the last year, 2,800 people, on change.org trying to get something done there. I know there's been a recent, survey of the area, but I guess I would ask the director, what did that survey entail? I didn't see anyone out there taking measurements. I didn't see strips. I didn't see counters for several days. I just kind of want to get some more information on that.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Yeah.
Jason, I want to thank you for your testimony, and I'm in total agreement about the need for really substantial improvements there. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And yeah, I think the time for studies is over. The time for action is really now. I know they did put a high-speed sign, like the sign that shows how fast you're going. But sometimes I think, to someone else's point, I think that's like how fast can you get? How high can your score get? And people just speed up instead of slowing down. So I think really something needs to be done there. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Joe Goodman, Campus Hill, Towson. Mr. Goodman, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Hey, you can hear me?
Yes, we can, sir. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Joe Goodman, and for the record, I'm a treasurer for Towson Communities Alliance, vice president of Campus Hills. With Henry Calligary's blessing, I'm going to talk on a couple items for our community. So a couple of the items which I sent to Johnny and David's office yesterday. The main item is the repaving of our streets. We were told in 2018 during the gas line repairs, and then after our water mains were replaced in 2019, that this would be done in 2020. Water lines came in 1.2 million under budget. It's now 2022. It's our understanding that maybe only 2 streets in our community are going to be repaved this year. Then I'll move on to our new roundabout on Providence Road in Breezewick and Southwick. Oftentimes the north and southbound traffic, they wait till the last second to yield. Currently there are 30-mile-an-hour signs within 20 to 100 feet of the roundabout, and this is right after you're telling people to be at 25 miles an hour at the Cromwell Elementary School. No new signs need to be dug, and no posts need to be inserted for the slowdowns. And then just finally, too, I want to say thank you on behalf of Campus Hill, Cromwell Valley, and Breezewick for installing the roundabout. Henry, TJ Sawcheck, Dina Zeller, myself want to thank David for pushing this issue. I want to thank State Delegate Kathy Forbes and State Senator Chris West for writing letters of support, and also the County Council and our County Executive for approving this project. And I just want to conclude and say I wish you both well in the future.
Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you for all you did, and thank the county executive for his team.
Yeah, we appreciate all you do out there. Appreciate testimony tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. Next, we have Miss Kristen Hoffman of Towson. Miss Hoffman, you can go ahead with your testimony.
And Joe, I also wanted to add before you go. I think some of the delays were about COVID. I believe the streets are still on the list. So Director Walker, am I correct there as well?
I believe you are correct there, sir.
So as soon as we're back in paving season, we should be picking back up with some of the other roads that you're concerned about as well.
Is it possible just to ask when would our community finally be done?
So we start our paving season back up once it gets warm. So you're on the list for the next paving season.
And that's for the 2 streets, but not for the whole community, correct?
Well, not for the whole community. There's a lot of streets in your community. There was a list of streets. We can have an offline conversation about the streets that would be repaved though.
Okay, well, I just thought this might be a budget session for also 2023, and I hope we're on it for then. So
Sure. And the other thing I'll say, Joe, is that we're actually also in the process of trying to truly use, and this is a credit to Director Walker and their team, to really start rating all the roads using professional standards, and really ranking the needs out there so that we are being, we're publishing the ratings of our roads and the amount of roads we're able to get to in any given season, so that sort of building on that transparency, but doing it even in road resurfacing. So we're hoping to have that rolled out in the year ahead as well. But thank you very much for the advocacy. We're going to make sure we get as many roads done as we can. I know it's a big quality of life issue, and Councilman Marks has been very good about pushing for road resurfacing in his district.
And I want to thank the county executive. That is an excellent reform, long overdue, and I appreciate his initiative on that.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. County Executive. Next, we have Ms. Kristen Hoffman from Towson. Ms. Hoffman, you can go ahead with your 90-second testimony.
Thank you very much. As you said, my name is Kristen Hoffman, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Green Towson Alliance. A few years ago, we advocated to get the county to include a provision in the downtown Towson zoning overlay calling for replacement of trees inch for inch when trees are removed for new development. The county right now has a tremendous opportunity to implement this replacement requirement for a planned development at the southwest corner of Baltimore Avenue and Allegheny Avenue, which, if it goes ahead, will take down many, many mature trees. Green Towson has shared with the county planning department and other agencies a downtown Towson tree survey that we prepared that show over 140 potential street tree locations in Towson. We request that the county fund a GIS tree inventory using this tree survey. The GIS inventory can be easily updated, and it can be used to create a Towson tree master plan to facilitate increasing Towson's urban tree canopy. This could then become a great pilot program for other urban areas in the county. Trees provide immense benefits to our urban areas, mitigating heat island effect, improving air quality, reducing runoff, and they make it a much more vibrant area for shoppers and residents alike. So we ask at this point that County Executive, if we talked about providing locations for trees, and you said you could help the county facilitate the planting of them. So we're hoping you'll give us consideration for this tonight. Thank you so much.
Chris, thank you so much. And actually, both for your comments and an earlier comment, I know that I've been having conversations with Director Dave Likens. I don't know if he or Brady is on from the Department of Environmental Protection and Sustainability on more tree supports generally. And I've heard from Director Steve Lafferty, who actually represented many of you in the Towson area as a delegate, who's working, I think, on the specific issues you mentioned. So I think, I don't know if Steve or Dave, if either or both of you want to chime in on the GIS and this issue specifically, or the tree, trying to build out more tree capacity generally. I'd welcome either one of you chiming in if you'd like.
Sure, this is Dave Likens, Environmental Protection and Sustainability. I believe the legislation you're talking about was actually put forward by Councilman Marks and passed several years ago. And that put the actually the Department of Planning, which is Mr. Lafferty, in charge of that program for replacing street trees that are removed. And Director Lafferty and I have talked very recently, and we have a meeting scheduled for next week to talk about the formula for how we would be able to implement that law that was passed by Councilman Marks. So we are working on it, and we're looking forward to trying to get as many street trees. Many of the trees that are taken down by developers, as they do, as you said, as part of their development, and they're required to replace them as part of their development. So we are working on it, and Director Lafferty is on it, and we have meetings scheduled in the next week, I believe.
And let me just reaffirm what Director Likens has said, that after meeting with the developer, we realized that it's a significant issue, and looking at what GTA has put forward as options for planting, I think we really need to be realistic about what we can see planted in Towson and to really meet the obligations under the county code. So a number of the agencies are coming together, as Mr. Likens said, within the week. and looking for a formula and a process by which we can get the trees planted and replace those trees that'll be removed.
Thank you all very much. Next, we have Miss Laurie Taylor Mitchell. She's the president of the Student Support Network. Miss Mitchell, you can go ahead with your 90-second testimony.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Good evening. I'm Dr. Laurie Taylor Mitchell, and I'm president of the Student Support Network, a nonprofit group assisting students in poverty in Baltimore County Public Schools. Councilman Marks, I'm asking for your support this evening for full funding for 3 important food programs to assist residents countywide living in poverty. The first, Summer SNAP for Children, would help over 50,000 children living in extreme poverty in Baltimore County with food during school breaks. The second, increasing the minimum SNAP benefit for recipients under the age of 62, would provide over 7,000 residents with at least $1 a day in food assistance. The third, full funding for Maryland Meals for Achievement, would provide free breakfast to over 19,000 students in schools that qualify but currently aren't participating, including Perry Hall High School, where nearly 800 students, or 40% of all students, now live in severe poverty, and where over 400 students live in extreme poverty at this high school and qualify for SNAP. About $6.7 million would fully fund these 3 programs. At least 30% of our high school students and 28% of our middle school students in Baltimore County suffer from food insecurity, a lack of consistent access to nutritious food. Students experiencing food insecurity are at a higher risk of drug use, making a suicide plan, fighting at school, and carrying weapons to school. More food for these vulnerable families would also mean that they could spend their precious resources on other essentials for their children. Students who may no longer need to hoard food in their lockers for evenings and weekends. Students who can get haircuts and not be bullied in school for their appearance. Who can stop wearing shoes that are too small, or who can afford a winter coat. Baltimore County can do better to ensure that all residents have enough to eat, including our most vulnerable children, through full funding of these food programs, whose positive local economic and also social effects extend far beyond the food assistance that they provide. Thank you very much for your time.
Laurie, I want to thank you for all of your advocacy. I believe that when former Councilwoman Vicky Allman initiated the pilot program to look at food insecurity, I think I was the only Republican to support that. So it's something I've long been interested in, and you will have my support for those initiatives. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
David's thanks and praise of all the great work that you've done out there. Proud of what you've done. Thank you for being such a great partner in being one of those distribution hubs to get those 18 million meals out. We couldn't have done that without you. We are taking the issues of food insecurity very seriously. They're real. And so whether it's a pilot food shuttle in Turner Station to connect people to grocery stores, or hiring Ashley Wallington, our first food security coordinator, we want to keep working with you and the council to do even more in this front. I know Elizabeth Sachs has been helping to lead and coordinate a lot of that. I believe she's on if she wanted to add anything else tonight.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. County Executive. And Laurie, thank you. As you know, especially during the pandemic, we have all worked so closely, including with the school system, to make sure there were no disruptions in food that's already provided, but certainly agree that we can and we will do more. I know 2 of the programs you mentioned are actually currently pending in Annapolis, and we are monitoring that very closely, particularly the Summer SNAP, to see if it is indeed expanded, and then how that might affect what we can do at the county level. So we appreciate the flags for things that are on the horizon, and we will be prepared to apply and consider how we expand at the county level should the state go forward with expansion. So thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we have Mr. Mario Borgerden of Perry Hall. Mr. Mario, you can go ahead with your testimony. Mr. Mario Borgerden of Perry Hall, you can go ahead with your testimony. Next, we have, hello? thought I heard a mic open. My apologies. Next, we have Mr. Mark Luden of Perry Hall.
Sorry, I'm here.
Oh, Mario.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Mario,
Something
there you
was
go.
not muting on my screen.
No worries. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm Mario Borghi. I'm the president of the Citizens to Preserve Perry Hall Manor Improvement Association. I'm attending the District 5 meeting tonight to address an extension of public sewer and the environmental impacts to our 123 homeowners who all have private wells and septic systems. Before I get into the specifics, I'd really like to first thank Councilman Dave Marks for his continued support with this initiative. He's went above and beyond, what I was originally hoping for. So thank you very much for your time, David. Additionally, I'd like to thank State Senator Kathy Klausmeier, who's not on the call, but I'm really thankful for her efforts in trying to find potential funding for this project. Our community is very thankful for their support. So what's at stake? Our residents and board members alike are requesting any type of grant funding from the county, state, or federal sources to minimize our financial burden. There's a substantial cost to this extension, approximately $45,000 per house, which does not include plumbing, sewer main hookups, disconnects, abandonments, or any of that of the current septic system. So a few stats just to consider about our community. About 62% of our residents are at least 60 years old. And within 5 years, if no homes are sold, which is seems to be likely, that figure jumps to about 70%. Now, where this is an impact is there are many individuals in our community who are on fixed incomes. So bringing through a system with the costs that we've been proposed are quite considerable. So this is a very dire situation that I'm thankful that Baltimore County is willing to work with us on. And we want this health issue to be resolved, where it has minimal impacts on not only the economic condition of our community, but also the environmental impacts on the Chesapeake Bay watershed. So any support we can get is very thanked, and I hope to remain in constant contact with David.
Thanks, Mario. And I know there was quite a bit of feedback about this when we had our town halls on some of the ARP work. I want to just let you and your community members know that we are both very much looking at a credit program and the potential of starting one up, not just for Perry Hall community in this project, but countywide in light of some of the conversations we've had. And we're actively exploring any and all other sources of funding that might be able to help potentially offset and defray some of the costs here. So appreciate your feedback, and you've got my commitment. We're going to keep working on these issues. So
fantastic. We certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. County Executive, and Mario. Thank you for all your leadership as well.
Thank you all very much. Next, we have Mr. Mark London of Perry Hall. Mr. London, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, County Executive and Councilman. My name is Mark London. I live in Perry Hall, specifically Honeyville Village. I'm an active member of my community and also active volunteer firefighter and EMT at White Marsh. Although I can speak to many items, a few of my biggest concerns are risks to me and my family from vehicle traffic and crime. As far as vehicle traffic, as a volunteer firefighter and EMT, one of my biggest concerns is working on I-95. Traffic is just crazy, as of you know. Driving on Bel Air Road is often akin to driving on I-95 with no median in many areas. Many of us have learned to drive in the right lane. Walking on the sidewalks of Honeyville Boulevard is often feels like I'm walking on the shoulder of I-95, especially around evening rush hour. I know Honeyville and Cross has come up. I had that on my list, so I think that's been discussed quite a bit. But, again, related to the traffic light just up the road near Bel Air Road, I was kind of curious why that is there when really there's no traffic yet, but the crossroad traffic has been around for quite a bit. Drivers are running late, speeding, drag racing, reckless driving, aggressive, distracted, under the influence at, rates that don't seem like we've had before. Hit and run crashes are rampant. due to various, issues, unlicensed, unregistered, uninsured, undocumented, open warrants, and so forth. So with that, I think it's towards the end. I wanted to address quickly crime. Anywhere from petty crime to violent crime is all great concern. I do fully support police and police efforts. I think that identifying reasons for these traffic issues is warranted, and more money should be budgeted to address these traffic crime concerns.
Thank you so much, Mark. I just will open the floor up again if Director Walker and or Chief Hyatt or the captain have anything they want to add or respond here.
So I'll go first, Mr. County Exec, before we, just so that you're aware, we most recently did a strategic highway safety plan as it relates to the traffic in Baltimore County. And from a safety perspective, looking at how we can put some measures in place to mitigate some of the accidents that we have on the road. And we're working actively with the state to look at those intersections that have real safety issues. Our highway safety plan gives us a 5-year look. It allows us to look at data associated with what's going on the roads. And that's a partnership that we not only have in Department of Transportation, Public Works and Transportation, but we work collaboratively with the police department as it relates to that. So we're going to start to use data to look at what we can do to improve the roads in Baltimore County. That was a new initiative that was introduced a few months ago by the county executive. And as you know, we most recently added transportation to our portfolio. So safety along with transportation is now a new focus for DPW&T. So we hear you loud and clear.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Director Walker. And just to add a couple of comments, obviously, we work very closely with Director Walker and her team as it pertains to traffic safety. And in just a moment, I'm actually going to turn it over to Colonel Conger. I know that he has his entire chain to the precinct commander on to be able to discuss things like our precinct traffic teams, which are very focused on specific traffic concerns, a lot of the complaints which are driven through the community. Whether it's with our traffic enforcement, our deployment as it pertains to crime, we really focus on what the data shows us. That way we continue to adjust our deployment. And I know before I turn it over to my team, I know one of the things that you commented on was in reference to, I know you referred to it as petty crime, but property crime and things like that. And one of the things that we're very focused on right now, of course, we're always focused on the violence. That's always a priority. But, we're also very focused on property crime. And right now, if you have been monitoring social media and some of the community outreach that we're doing, we are putting a lot of effort into the stolen auto issue that we're seeing across Baltimore County. A lot of people leaving keys in vehicles, either leaving them running or else leaving keys somewhere in the vehicle. Again, what we see is that while violent crime is, of course, tremendously impactful, many more people personally are impacted by property crime. And so we can't focus on one at the exclusion of the other. And Colonel Conger and his team are very, very focused on both. And again, we spend a lot of time looking at where the data takes us. Colonel, do you or anyone on your team have anything to add?
Yeah, Chief, thank you very much. I'll take that. Certainly the locations that you've shared with us, those are on our list. Like, we have to obviously allocate our resources across the county to the different challenges, the different areas, as the Chief was describing. I know that a lot of folks look at the police and they think about, crime, and they think about, criminal cases. And I'll be the first to tell you, traffic safety is also public safety. So that is not lost on us in any way, shape, or form. I used to be the precinct commander at White Marsh, as you know, and I have a lot of confidence in Captain Batten over there. Her folks pay great attention to each of those areas. The precinct traffic team is a resource that can prioritize and focus on those while we, strategize on how to invest our resources in other areas at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we have Miss Nancy Hafford, Executive Director of the Towson Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, County Executive and Councilman Marks, for doing this evening, as people have been saying before me. Over the last 7 years, Towson has added over 5,000 residents to our downtown area, and we've opened over 5 new large restaurants and bars. Also, a $400 million project, Towson Row, which we were all very, very grateful for. So each month, we're seeing thousands of additional new people coming into our community. As we all know, to have a sustainable community, you have to have a pretty, clean, and safe community. That being said, for 12 years, the Chamber has had someone from the detention center 5 days a week to pick up trash in Towson. But due to COVID, we haven't had them for over a year. We are desperately hoping that in the very near future, the detention center will restart this very important program for our community. I really want to thank Captain D. Camelli. You are wonderful to work with, and you have amazing men and women that work at the Towson precinct. They never worked from home during COVID. They always showed up, and they truly care about the well-being of our community. In light of the challenges that we've had over the last several months, it's more vital than ever before to support our officers, because as we all know, police across the country are quitting in record numbers. We need to continue to have the best of the best, like we've always had. And we're also grateful for the state's attorney's office that holds people accountable when they break the law here. I wanted to end by adding that we have recently written a grant to the state for adding cameras in our community. Cameras don't stop crime, but they can help solve crime. So we're hoping that that's going to come through. But we've also wrote another grant to add someone on the streets to help pick up trash through 2022, but we're not 100% guaranteed we're going to get it. But I'm very optimistic about that. But at the end of the day, Towson and Baltimore County is the best place to live, work, and play. And I'm so grateful for so many of you that are on this chat here this evening, because your hearts and soul are working for the community, and we all do work together. Thank you.
Nancy, thank you for your tireless leadership. Very proud of all the work that's gone into Towson over the past 10 years. And thank you, and also our partners at the county level, including the county executive.
Ditto, Nancy, thanks for all your service with the chamber, feet on the street, all the work that you guys do, the holiday lightings, your service leading the planning board. You've been a great partner. Thanks for all your efforts. We appreciate you.
Well, you're family. You guys are family. So we're all here together.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, County Executive. Next, we have Miss Nancy Goldring, President of Historic East Towson. Miss Goldring, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Good evening, County Executive and Councilman Marks. I just want to say I know that your administration is committed to investing in communities, and I thank you for your generous support of Historic East Towson. I'm especially excited about the $75 million of in-state and local funding for parks and recreational spaces you mentioned. As you may or may not be aware, myself and many concerned citizens and organizations have put together a research paper on the possibility of a trail that extends from Hampton, the former Hampton Plantation, where several of the historic East Towson families are descendants of manumitted slaves of the Ridgely family, and connecting that property to East Towson and calling it Mapping the Road to Freedom from Hampton Plantation to Historic East Towson. It's It's affectionately known as the Freedom Trail. We see it as a fantastic opportunity to increase tourism for Towson and for Hampton. We see it as a fantastic learning opportunity for every imaginable level of education, and also the environment. And I'm hoping that you will consider the trail in your 2023 budget. We actually had the occasion to meet with the East Coast Greenway Alliance and learned that there's actually quite a need in this part of Towson for that idea, and we didn't know it. It was just an inspiration, and and now we're learning that there's an actual need, and we'd love for our project to fill a need for the county, not just for East Towson, but for all of Towson. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, very much.
Thanks, Nancy. Looking forward to reviewing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we have Pat Gardner from Kingsville. Pat, you can go ahead with your testimony.
I'm the president of Greater Kingsville Civic Association, and our issue tonight that we'd like to bring before you is the land swap on Raphael Road near I-95. And the state of Maryland and Baltimore County have been in talks for well over 2 years for a land swap there. There's 3 properties. The first one is the former Schmidt property that is adjacent to 95, and then the old golf course, and then the Rakowski property is the last one further up Raphael Road. Of course, the state owns the Rakowski property, which is the farthest away from 95, and they would like to switch properties with the county, with the Schmidt property. And we've been discussing this for well over 2 years, and we're still discussing. We'd really like to get this underway. The Kingsville area has 1 park for kids to play baseball in, and it's very small and old, and we really need some more fields. Not a lot, but some more. So I'd like to bring that to the attention and hope that in this year we can finally get this group together, or get this agreement made so that this property can start being used. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I was actually brought in on this conversation just a few months ago with Secretary Jim Ports of the Maryland Department of Transportation. And I know it's something he's been working on with Director Rosalind Johnson and some other folks on our team. So I believe that those conversations are ongoing, and we have made some significant progress in those conversations and discussions. So we're committed to making sure that we can proceed, but we want to just make sure it's fair and equitable for the county. So Director Johnson, I don't know if you or your team have anything that you wanted to add from a Rec and Parks perspective on this one.
Absolutely. Sure. Thank you, Mr. County Executive. Yes, I know it appears that we've just been in talks and you haven't seen anything happening. We're doing work behind the scenes, as the County Executive mentioned. We are thankful to our partners at DPW&T. Acting Director Walker and her team have done a traffic study. As the County Executive mentioned, we want to make sure it's not the swap that keeps on giving to the taxpayers and it costs more money. So we want to make sure that the swap is actually a fair and equitable swap. And be ensured the cost that will have to be incurred by county taxpayers in order to improve that property. I'm sure as you're aware, the property that the county owns is significantly flatter and kind of in much better shape for the fields. So we just want to make sure that we're making smart decisions and getting the best deal for everyone in the county.
Yeah, Pat, as you know, I've actually been pushing for this for 8 years, and it wasn't until this administration that we got some traction. So I do want to thank the county executive and his team. I am 100% in support of this swap and hope we can conclude it efficiently. So thank you for testifying.
You're welcome, and thank you, David, for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we have Peta Ritkus. Peter Ritkus, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
We can.
Thank you, County Executive and Councilman Marks. Let me first acknowledge the hard work of county staff in these trying times. I've seen firsthand how much you and your administration have accomplished in the face of the pandemic. I was honored to serve on the Procurement Reform Commission, and I'm pleased that the administration is already implementing many of the Commission's recommendations, as well as making progress on the county's strategic plan goals. Kudos to the County Council staff, and special thanks to the auditors who make attending and observing County Council meetings more meaningful. Before I address my 2 items for budget consideration, I want to recommend all budget suggestions submitted by the public be posted on the county website. Our virtual testimony this evening will be available on the web as part of the public record. Written suggestions should also be part of the public record. The County Council posted written redistricting testimony online, so I think posting budget testimony can be done easily. 2 budget suggestions. First, the Office of the Inspector General has rightly been recognized for accomplishing a great deal on a shoestring budget. And the administration rightly brags about initiating and expanding the Office of the Inspector General. And thank you, Councilman Marks, for initiating the idea. But the Inspector General needs more resources to do its job on behalf of taxpayers. According to the 2021 OIG report, its annual budget was $291,100, which worked out to about 35 cents per county resident. The return on investment has been outstanding, but inadequate resources will hobble the office's ability to enhance accountability and oversight of Baltimore County government operations. Second, I have seen updates to the Baltimore County website over the past 3 years, but the accessibility of information and the user-friendliness of the site still need work. It's not enough to put information on a web page if it cannot be found easily. And attractive does not equate to usability. I suggest more investment is needed to improve functionality and site-wide consistency. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. And we appreciate all your service helping us to try to be better and do better. I think Elizabeth Sachs has been working with you on some of the website issues. I don't know if she had anything she wanted to add tonight, but just again, thank you for the feedback as always.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Peter. I know we've been back and forth. I think, the visuals are great, but you're right. You have to be able to find what looks good, and we're working on that, at least from the BC Stat side, and do appreciate your input on those web pages.
My pleasure. Good evening.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we have Mr. Phil Dorsey, President of Towson Estates. Mr. Dorsey, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Good evening. Thanks, everybody. We all agree that David Marks has been serving us very well, and we really appreciate his support. I'm the 5th time president of Towson Estates Association, and I was calling. This is my first time doing a request, but we were looking for somebody to help us become a historic designation neighborhood, but somebody retired from the county a couple of years ago, and they've never replaced him, and we went through a lot of work and nothing ever happened. So we're looking for some support on that. And I like all your recommendations for increasing the foliage. We had an elm disease go through our neighborhood a couple of years ago, and we lost a lot of our big trees in the neighborhood. And the county offered a planting thing of 20 trees per household. But that's too much for most neighbors to have 20 trees in their yard. Nobody has that kind of space. But we need trees, and we also need some help in cleaning up in our common areas and in the wooded areas of some of the vine encased trees, if there was some volunteer work for that. And we were also wanting to know if there's an arborist on the county's payroll. Because if we had an arborist come through the neighborhood and make recommendations on maintenance, upkeep, suggestions, drainage, anything like that that would help our trees survive and put in new trees, and then present their findings to the neighbors, and they could ask questions so we could make it a better case for us and preserve what we have. And so the historic designation, trees, arborists, and also the island right at the corner of Joppa and Goucher. There's a space of county land that's just filled up with down trees. And we always try to clean it up, but there's big fallen trees there that look really bad. And we were wondering if the county chippers go by, and they could probably make a job of it in an hour cleaning up that area. And it's kind of like the gateway into downtown from the east side. So if some attention could be given to that, we would appreciate it. And we could use the chips. So that's another thought. So that's it. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, Phil, thanks and welcome to the town hall process. We really appreciate your input tonight. I'm going to let Director Lafferty of Planning sort of weigh in on the designation piece. And I know that we do have an arborist. I think it's in DPWT, and then also Director Likens, as I mentioned earlier, in DEPS. We're actually having conversations about growing our forestry efforts, and we do have trees available, et cetera. So I will open the floor up to any or all the directors, and we look forward to having Ms. Panny is going to follow up. I think we have your contact information, so your OCE coordinator will also be following up on the specific needs and other stuff as well. But we'll open up to the directors.
Thank you. And Steve Lafferty is a great friend too.
Yeah, Phil, it's true.
Well, we have that in common then. That's good.
Yeah.
Phil, it's terrific to see you, and thank you very much for being here tonight. We do have the Historic Preservation Services in our department, in the planning department. And so we can have Caitlin Merritt be in touch with you about what's involved.
Okay, thank you.
Historic designation, and work with you through that process, help you understand what it is you're seeking and what may be required to do that.
Okay.
So look forward to continuing to work with you. And once again, terrific to see you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil, as well.
Mr. Dorsey, this is Dave Likens from the Department of Environmental Protection and Sustainability.
Oh, thanks.
As the county executive said, yes, we have trees. We'll be more than happy to come out and talk to you and talk to your neighborhood, my forest management section. If the 5th District Coordinator, if you've left your name and number with them, if they contact me and give me your information, I'll have my forest management section contact you, and you can direct us to the right places to go show us where we need trees.
Awesome. That'd be really great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Mr. Dorsey, we will have our office follow up with you.
Mandy, can I jump in with one more thing too?
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead, sir.
The county executive is correct. In our Department of Public Works and Transportation, the county arborist lives, and his name is Saul Pass.
Saul Pass. Okay. Will you have him contact us? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll have them contact you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we have Miss Ramesh Bhatta. Ramesh Bhatta. Yes.
Yeah, this is Mr. Ramesh Bhatta. Hello, County Executive Johnny O, Councilman David Max, and everyone present at the meeting. Thank you for hosting this virtual budget town hall meeting to listen to our concern. My name is Ramesh Bhatta. I'm a resident of Baltimore County District 5. I'm representing nonprofit called Sati Baltimore, and also Nepali American community of Baltimore County, and speaking as a resident of the county. I'm here to speak for the establishment of a cricket field in Baltimore County. While Baltimore County has hundreds of parks, recreation centers, and facilities that host thousands of sports programs across Baltimore County throughout the year, it is a sad fact that there is not a single proper cricket ground in Baltimore County. Cricket is the second most popular sport behind soccer in the world. The sport is mainly popular among South Asian countries, Australia, UK, South Africa, and the Caribbean. the US has started its own minor cricket league and is looking to expand and investing heavily in it. Our neighboring county, Howard County, recently inaugurated its 6th cricket field, and we hope with the help of you all, we'll have at least one cricket field where cricket lovers get to enjoy the beautiful game and a new sport for the resident of Baltimore County to try. Mount Vista Park would be the best venue for such a field in the long run, so we hope the land swap deal happens soon. At the meantime, for a temporary solution, there is a field in 12340 Dulani Valley Road, Phoenix, Maryland 21131, where we could use the ground as a temporary field. I would like to thank everyone, including David Max, the county executive, for all the support that they have given to this project. And I would like to thank and hope we'll have a cricket ground soon. Thank you so much.
100% agree. Thank you, Ramesh, for all of your leadership. And I completely agree. It's important to offer services to accommodate everyone in our communities. Thank you very much.
Ramesh, thank you as well. Really appreciate your advocacy. We look forward to working with you and others to make this a reality. I know it's a priority. My senior advisor, Sam O'Neill, has been part of these conversations, I believe, with you and others. I know Director Johnson is aware of our desire to do this. So looking forward to partnering with you to make it a reality.
Thank you, County Executive. You are a friend of Nepali American community. So is David Max. We appreciate everything you do for the community.
Thank you, Ramesh.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we have Raja Pajuli. Mr. Raja Pajuli, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you. Hello, Baltimore County Executive Johnny O, and David Marks, and everyone present at this budget town hall. Thank you for hosting this budget town hall to listen the voice of residents of Baltimore County. My name is Raju Parajuli. I am a president of the non-residents Nepalese in America, Maryland chapter. I live in District 5 as a representative of the Nepali American community and the residents of the Baltimore County. I would like to highlight the need of the cricket field in a Baltimore County. I have a Baltimore County will have a proper ground to play the cricket soon. I would also like to support installation of traffic light in Crossroad and Honeyco Boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we have Miss Shannon McDonald of Knollwood, Towson. Miss McDonald, you can go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. I can't thank enough Council Executive Olszewski and Councilman David Marks on your continued support for everything associated with Roundabout Park in Towson and all the green space and green initiatives you have been supporting. I once again would like to continue to advocate for the development of green belts throughout Baltimore County, distinctly the corridors throughout Baltimore County, which link Baltimore City and further out into the extents of the county. These develop lots of community initiatives that link communities to each other and also businesses where communities can participate. Baltimore County needs to continue to address its environmental sustainability in Towson as it continues to grow and increase in population. And I'd like to continue to encourage the county to develop walkable communities, safe bicycle lanes throughout, including the Six Bridge Trail, to continue to advance the tree canopy throughout the county, to commit funds to the county budget, to the underfunded county land preservation program, create usable open space accessible to every citizen within the county, address stream restoration projects to ensure they remain effective, and to point again to the idea of enhancing the forests throughout the county in that there are not just large stately trees, but also the removing of the invasive non-native vines. And again, I would like to continue to address that need for the usable green belt, specifically the Six Bridge Trail project, hopefully linking to East Towson and Cromwell Valley Park, and also the Jones Falls trails to the NCR. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Shannon, for all your work. Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. And we are excited. I know both the councilman and I mentioned at the top, we're excited that we had the open space acquisitions that will allow us to move forward in the year ahead with the Six Bridges finalizing that finally. So we're very excited and one of the first things, David, you and I walked together, Councilman, I believe, as soon as I was elected. You started this term.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you all very much. Next, we have Shyam Kakari. Shyam Kakari, you can go ahead with your testimony from Perry Hall. Shyam Kakari. Next, we will go ahead with Mr. Timothy Teen. Mr. Timothy, you can go ahead with your testimony. Timothy, there you go. Mr. Timothy?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
Muted. And thanks, County Executive. Thanks, Councilman Marks, and thanks to county staff for being here. I want to echo Nancy Hafford's comments. I also want to echo the executive's comments of the priorities for the county. But I think there's a misordering of that. So before we have great education, we have to have safety and security. So having 150 plus police officers missing from our roles is very important that we focus that to make sure that we can fill those roles so that we can have safety and security in our county first and foremost. Secondarily, infrastructure. A lot of things have been brought up of crossings in Kearney and Parkville and Perry Hall. Asphalting roads are one piece, but we need to look at the larger strategic infrastructure for our county. Thirdly, education, absolutely. Most of us here on the call have been Baltimore County public educated and grown, and we're here because we love our county. So I made comments throughout the chat. I'd like those to go on the public record, but also I'd like to thank everybody here for taking the time. I know it takes a lot of time out of your day for the staff to be here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim, very much.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we have Tom Butts of Perry Hall. Mr. Tom, you can go ahead with your testimony. Mr. Tom Butts of Perry Hall, you could go ahead with your testimony. Mr. Tom? Next, we will go ahead with Miss Stacy Shantz with your testimony. We did see you in the WebEx chat. Ms. Shantz, you can go ahead with your testimony. Miss Stacy Shantz, you can go ahead with your testimony.
My name is Stacy Shantz. My family has lived in Perry Hall for 20 years. 2 boys, aged 12.
Ms. Shantz, I think you muted there.
Oh, are you there?
We are.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
So my family has lived in Perry Hall for 20 years. We have 2 boys, aged 12 and 15. I know many others have mentioned the intersection at Honeygo and Cross, so I'll be brief, but I wanted to just share my view and also share my support for a crosswalk and a traffic light at this intersection. My family uses this intersection many times every day. It is an incredibly dangerous location. I am a mom with kids who want to ride and walk bikes and cross to the park, to go to Angel Park, to visit friends. And I can't let them cross Honeygo Boulevard in good conscience. There's no place safely to get across there. I'm a driver who fears having an accident every time I have to cross this 6-lane road. I'm a runner who fears being hit by a car anytime I have to be near this intersection. And probably the most important, I'm a mom of 2 future drivers, one who will start driving sometime this year. I absolutely support a crosswalk and a light at this intersection. Traffic flies on this road, and it is going to get even worse as the new shopping center opens. The residents and families that live near here need a safe way to get across this road in vehicles and on foot. All the money that has gone into the Perry Hall Library, Perry Hall Park, and the other parks, and there is no safe way to get across this highway. I know that you mentioned that there was a study done recently that involved, from what I witnessed, 2 unmarked cars sitting in a vehicle for what seemed less than 2 hours watching the morning traffic. It didn't seem scientific to me at all. Yet the new shopping center will get a light immediately, which is more frustrating given how many accidents we've seen in the years that I've lived here. It seems, given the extraordinary number of accidents, that the county is well overdue for a light and crosswalk for the safety of our drivers, pedestrians, and our community. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Stacy. I know that Councilman Marks and I both come at this from parents of children as well, and I appreciate the angle with which you're viewing it. We want to work with you and others to find solutions. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Tom Butts, you can go ahead with your testimony now.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to thank David Marks because he's been a big proponent of Perry Hall. I can tell his support and compassion is genuine. He graduated from Perry Hall High School. I want to share some personal testimony because Angie referenced earlier that there have been some accidents at Cross Road and Cross Road and Honeygo Boulevard. A BGE truck hit my house in 2015. I know David remembers that. Okay, so this is very personal to me. I witnessed a car crash into my neighbor's house, or neighbor's fence, and take out their fence and land in their backyard. We have children, okay? So we're right here at the intersection of Cross Road and Honeygo Boulevard. So it's very personal to us. I've heard people say tonight that they're going to address this incident by lighting issues and studies. I've heard that for 7 years. David, you know that. I know that. The Baltimore County engineers have said the studies have not warranted any type of action at this intersection. And my house was hit at 7:40 a.m. in the morning. We were getting our kids ready for school. I have 4 kids. My wife was in the basement. Fortunately, no one was injured. My neighbor's fence was destroyed during the afternoon. Lighting issues weren't a problem. Speed is the problem. I've had cops tell me people speed, okay? So I go out there, we know the sounds. I hear the accidents so frequently that when we hear that bang, we go outside. I go outside. The cops know me. They recognize me and they shake their head and they say, Mr. Butts, we're here again. There's another accident at Honeygo and Cross. We can't do anything about it. The county has to do something about it. The Board of Engineers, they've done nothing for 7 years. Mr. Wareheim has videos of the not lighting issues, the speeding issues that take place at this intersection and the consistent accidents. So it's very disheartening to me that nothing has been done. The new shopping center that's going up on the corner of Honeygo and Bel Air is going to create more congestion. And it's very disheartening to me. I love my neighbors. I got 3 kids that go to Perry Hall High School. We're a tight-knit community, but there is a very definite problem that exists at this intersection of Honeygo Boulevard and Cross Road. And you know, David, you're the only one that I know. I appeal to you. You've always been very responsive to me. Something needs to be done about this intersection. It's only going to get worse. So I share with you some of my personal testimony. And again, someone addressed earlier about there's already a light approved further down Honeygo Boulevard in between Cross and Bel Air. How did they get that approval? No one's answered that, but it's not a lighting issue. Okay? I'm sorry, Ms. Walker. It's not a lighting issue. Don't mean to call you out, but I'm going to say this because I don't know how much more I'm going to be on these calls. I'm done. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I do. I just want this, I want this to be addressed.
Yeah, Mr. Butts, you're welcome on these calls as often as we have them, I assure you. And I will let you know that it was just recently that Councilman Marks brought it to my attention that this was a community issue. So I want to thank all the members who've come out to raise the concerns there. We hear you. I know Director Walker hears you. I hear you. I know the councilman has heard all of you. So I assure you we will be going back and looking at all of the options as we sort of proceed with this budget process. That's the entire point of having these town halls. And so if there are solutions to be had, we want to find them. And I assure you we will work with the councilman, the department, and the community to try to figure out a path forward that everyone can get behind and support.
All right, no more studies anymore. David, help me out here, buddy. You got me, right?
I'm doing. I have your back. I'm doing all I can. You know, we've done a lot of things right in Honeygo. The parks, the quality of the development, the construction of Honeygo Boulevard is something that was not done well. That shopping center, that area was zoned for commercial development before I was elected. We've tried to make some changes, but I am 100% behind you in trying to get a strong, robust solution at that intersection. And I support a light or a circle. So thank you very much.
I'm trusting in you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, everyone. Next, we have Thor Trigavison.
Did I handle it? Good, it's good.
You did great, Tom.
Good evening, County Executive Olszewski, Councilman Marks. First, I'd like to thank you for your support and funding for the much-needed schools in the Northeast area that are currently being built. With continued buildup in the area, the needs for schools, infrastructure, and services will only continue to rise. To tonight's topic, I'd like to bring to your attention the fact that there's not a single indoor swimming pool or facility operated by Baltimore County. Currently, there are 8 outdoor county swimming pools serving 855,000 constituents, or about 1 per 107,000. There's definitely a need for a large indoor swimming facility in the county. Many of our joining counties have public indoor swimming pools, such as Prince George, Anne Arundel, and Montgomery. I've been to several of these indoor pools, and I can say that they are very well utilized. At any given time, there are 3 to 4 swim clubs training, there are swim lessons taking place, there's scuba training, there's swim competition, and more. So I would like to ask the county executive to fund a new indoor swimming pool in the White Marsh Middle River area, similar to the Olympic Swim Center in Annapolis, where I currently have to take my students for training, as there isn't a facility in the county to do that. It will generate jobs and opportunities for the people that call Northeast Baltimore County their home. Furthermore, it doesn't require a whole lot of space, and I'm certain that it will be a welcomed addition to the area. With proper indoor facility, the county can offer training space for many sports. There's ample land available around Highway 43 with good road connection to north and south and west on 43. Everybody from the county that's here, thank you so much for your time tonight. I appreciate it, and thank you for listening to my concerns.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Next, we have Wasim Sheikh of Perry Hall. Wasim, you can go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Like many people before me have said, I'm here to talk about the need to have a traffic light or circle at the junction of Cross Road and Honeygo Boulevard. I live in Bishop's Meadow community. It's right at the junction of those 2 roads, and we are a community of 50 homes, and many of us have to use that junction on a daily basis. My wife goes to work using that junction every single day. And as many of people before said, and as Mr. Tom said, speeding is a major concern that's causing those fatal accidents and resulting in all these issues. So I think it's a very important that we should get a traffic light or circle there, and we should try to save some lives in future. That being said, I will my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next we have Miss Meg Powers. Miss Powers, you may go ahead with your testimony.
Hey, hi. Wanted to say thanks to David Marks and our county executive for having this meeting and taking so long to get through all of our testimonies. I'm speaking on behalf of Perry Hall Improvement Association as well as Gunview Farms Homeowner Association, and I'm just reiterating all the comments that have already been made about a traffic light or circle across and Honeygo. We feel that a traffic light would be better rather than just having a slight slowdown of a circle. We've heard of other circles where people don't realize they're there, or they just speed through it, right through the center of it, having accidents. This particular area really needs a traffic light, a 4-way light, a crosswalk, left-hand turn signals, and preferably the ability to program this somehow that going in all directions would be a red light for several minutes to allow the stray people like the runners and the parents with their children that extra 10 seconds to finish crossing that large expanse of road. I think you can all understand the safety reason for that. The other thing I wanted to bring up was about the open space area and accruing funds for our parks. And with the Behrman property just being recently purchased, we wanted to make sure that there was a grant obtained for money to make improvements for the fields or buildings, whatever might be needed in that area. And that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Meg.
Thank you, Meg. Yep.
Thank you all. And Mr. County Executive, that was our final testimony of the evening. I am going to turn the floor back over to you.
Thanks, Mandy. Thanks for your moderation tonight. You did a great job. Before I provide any concluding remarks, I'm actually going to turn the floor over to Councilman Marks for any concluding remarks he might have.
Well, thank you all for testifying tonight. We have an extremely engaged district from Towson to Kingsville. I have been privileged to represent some of the most thoughtful, active, participatory neighborhood associations in Baltimore County. I value every one of you. I'm proud of the progress we've made over the past 4 years. I'd like to thank the county executive and his team for their partnership. During difficult times, we've made a substantial number of improvements. That type of bipartisan work is so critical to advancing all of our neighborhoods. Everyone who testified tonight, I think, gave very thoughtful, constructive ideas. Certainly some there were certainly clusters of ideas that resonated among many people. I pledge to you to continue to work with the county executive and his staff to do our best to take those ideas and translate them into solutions. So again, thank you very much. And also thank you to the county staff who worked tonight to listen to all your concerns.
Thanks, Councilman. You've been a true partner in driving progress in your district and across this county, so I want to just publicly thank you for the partnership we've had. I want to thank the county staff who do the work day in and day out and for being here again tonight. And equally as important, if not more important, I want to thank all the residents of District 5 who came out to talk to me and Councilman Marks about the needs and desires of the future of your district and what you want to see in the budget ahead. So I look forward to working with the councilman and with our staff to craft a budget that is responsive to our communities. And that's why we have these town halls. So thank you all for continuing to show up and be a part of it. We look forward to seeing you out in the community soon. Hope everybody has a safe and wonderful night, and we'll see you around Baltimore County soon. So thanks, everybody.